Hey guys, this is Tolhi, and I just want to make a bit of a better intro for this podcast thing to help explain what exactly it is. So, me and my friends have been playing D&D for a while, and I Dungeon Master and my 3 friends form an adventuring company they call the Neon Knights. We played about 10 or 15 sessions before we had this bright idea of throwing a mic in the center of the table and recording our entire D&D sessions. Which is great. We recorded 3 sessions of us and our D&D shenanigans, but without any context of basically those first sessions that we played, basically the development of the characters and the story arcs and the plot that they went through, jumping in midway doesn't really make any sense. You don't get any kind of context for who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, and just the general plot. So we recorded this hour and 20 minute basically podcast type format thing where we recap the adventures of the Neon Knights. So basically everything that happened to us before we started recording our sessions. And that's basically it. So without any further ado, us recapping the adventures of the Neon Knights. This is the Neon Knights recap episode. Because we dived into this sort of like many sessions in, so we kind of need to go over all the stuff that's happened to the Neon Knights before we started recording.
Before.
Once upon a time,
Yes, in the days of yore.
there was a city called
Bald man.
Baldur's Gate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
And we had an adventurers, the Neon Knights, go to Baldur's Gate.
Yes, for some reasons that we reasons.
Looking for adventure and fame and glory.
The characters were, we have Brandy.
Yo.
And Brandy is the paladin of Lathander.
Mildly unintelligent, but good of heart.
What is the backstory to Brandy again?
I don't remember anymore.
Oh,
full name Brandrith.
You
Something-
were like a lord. Sir Brandrith Winry. I believe I was
Winry.
a ward. A ward?
Award. You're a ward.
I'm a ward! And I fell into some alcohol problems. But that is what happened. And
Yes.
very sad. Very sad.
Mm-hmm. Haven't quite figured out why you fell into alcohol problems.
I think just being a lord kind of leads to
The,
alcoholism.
the
Yes.
stresses
I guess so.
of lordlyhood.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this.
Yep.
I'm gonna go out, find some adventuring mates, and do some adventuring.
And became a paladin.
And yeah,
Became, yes.
you were born again
Randolph.
Lathanderite.
Good. Thanks.
And in some
Still
way,
looking for
shape, or
sex.
form, you came across a shard of something that allowed Lathander to communicate with you, this little rosy shard.
Right.
And you received visions from Lathander, who was pointing you towards Baldur's Gate. And so you gathered up 2 allies and went to Baldur's Gate because you kept getting these
So
visions.
there's a story behind that.
Oh, is there?
Right. Well, I believe we discussed this before. About how I went into this like tavern or something looking for where commonly adventurers gather.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bunch of people sitting around and I looking bedraggled and drunkenly. Nobody was interested. And then I think you were in the kitchen or something, arguing with somebody.
No, I was haggling. This is Pran Pranson, the
Right.
gnome wizard, and baker extraordinaire. So I was trying to haggle a deal to cut down the cost of my bar tab.
Right. Okay, so yeah, and then through some means of communication, you found out that I was leaving or something?
You just shouted out, "I'm looking for people to help me."
Right. Yeah.
Will anybody help me?
What was your intelligence stat again there, Brandy?
So when we started, it was 8.
Yeah. Yeah, so that does make sense, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was pretty low.
Yep.
Yeah.
Less than 50th percentile.
And he looked like the type that had a lot of money, so I was looking at clearing my tab.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like the right move at the right time.
Alright. And then where
I don't
did
know.
Hugo?
Hugo? I don't know. I was just there. And I was like, sure. I'll go along with you guys. And also, I had the promise of free lunches was pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we have a chef.
What led you to this tavern?
Oh, right. Yeah. Hugo. Hugo Sturdy Branch. He's a halfling, average halfling fellow, whose father and like family is a druid family. Oddly enough, halfling druids.
Yep.
Apparently they're a thing.
Yep.
But
He was having none of it.
yeah, like
He doesn't look
just,
druish.
I mean, most of the time, Pops was more concerned with the grove and his own son. So I figured, what the hell? Why should I inherit the grove or whatever?
Strike on your own.
Pretty much. Except I received
Your dad
only...
was all like, the meek will inherit the earth, and you were all like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're just sick of the government and sick of your dad.
Sick of my dad. I figured it was time to go back
To your roots.
to the roots. Yeah, that's right. To borrow the
Sick of the government.
to borrow
Sick
the
of my
druid
dad.
turn. But yeah, that's what happened. I have like minimal, a fraction of the druid training, so I figured, halflings, we're pretty sneaky folk, and did pretty well as a rogue, and yeah, just been wandering around ever since.
Yep.
So call to action from a rich man who looked pretty loose with his money,
And his mind.
and his mind, and a baker mage who could, free lunches.
Yep.
So yeah, we headed off
That sounded pretty
to.
good.
Heard there was troubles at Baldur's Gate.
I would like to point out one thing about the Baker Mage. Is the Baker Mage has a special ability when it comes to his spells. What was that special ability again?
When it comes to my spells?
Yeah. When
So-
you prepare spells.
So, not a lot of people know this, but when you go to wizard school, you're taught in all sorts of different schools of wizardry. So, some of the different schools that interested me were not necessarily part of the wizard curriculum. I kind of dabbled in other areas, especially in the realm of baking. So, everyone else is doing like fireballs and magic missiles and rays of frost. I had to put my own little twist on it. So, I was able to combine my skills of bakedry with my skills of wizardry and combine them to make the first ever baker mage.
Big wizardry.
At least the first ever undocumented baker
Right.
mage.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my
A
spells
chef
are
romancer.
infused with flavor and icing.
Yep.
So,
All of your spells come out as...
some sort of food.
So that
Muffin
is
mage.
that is a quirk,
It's a magic oven.
and that quirk is quite interesting in some of the adventures that you guys have had.
Baker man.
And then so upon heading forward into Baldur's Gate, you guys arrived during some sort of festival, and were entered into the large market
TGIF.
area called the Wide
right. Yep.
on a rainy day, and you witnessed basically this guy come up on stage, and he was yelling out to the crowd about how great Baldur's Gate was, and then you saw this hooded, cloaked figure run up onto the stage and attack him, and you saw that the guards were nowhere nearby, and so
Yeah.
you decided to run up and try and help.
Yep.
We did decide that.
Decided that good.
It's a good thing we were all so learned in combat, because
I went down in one hit.
So,
that's a lie.
so I mean,
He does that a lot.
this is where like the first encounter of the Neon Knights. This is where we learned that Brandy is pretty good at picking up us shorter folk, carrying us a distance.
Yes,
and
right,
then
that did
dropping us
happen.
down.
I picked up you. I
Yep.
picked up Hugo.
I was like,
and I was
take
like,
me.
you know what? Let's run in there, and I picked up Hugo and
Yep.
ran in and tossed him at the guy.
Yep.
Yes, that's
where I
it.
proceeded to try and hack at his ankles. And I think I was.
I think I tried to cast burning
One of
hands and I
them-
missed.
one of
Yeah,
them
I was
hit.
on fire.
One of them hit. The other one
Right.
was just kind of like.
Yep.
He like scraped the leather of the back of his boot.
But the one that did hit tripped him, if I remember correctly.
Yep. And I was like, ooh, sweet. But then it turned out he was a demon thing
Well,
underneath the cloak and shit.
So what happened was, as he fell from your trip,
Yeah.
he managed to successfully, with quite a dexterous feat, shoot a crossbow as he was falling, and he shot the speaker, who you later found out to be was Abdal Adrian, in the chest, and Abdal Adrian fell over dead from this crossbow bolt to the heart. And then when Abdal Adrian fell, all of a sudden the hooded cloaked figure blew up into this giant demon. The
Yep.
cloak flew off, and he was this bloody, crazy
Just all-
demon-looking creature.
Flesh and blades and
Yeah, it was-
Jumped into the crowd and
Horrific.
started
Maw.
tearing skulls from torsos.
Yep.
Just ripping their skulls right out of their
Yep.
torsos.
Yeah.
Just pulled them right out.
Like
Yep.
scorpion fatality style.
Just, yeah. And then you guys were like, "Oh my god!"
Yep.
and tried to help.
Yep. And tried and failed because
No, not completely.
Wow. Yes,
I succeeded.
that's right. Both Pran
I got
and
chomped.
Hugo.
And
Yeah.
I got knocked unconscious.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I got swatted away like a little pest.
beat the ever-living demon shit out of him, and then while he was laying down on the ground writhing, I fucking Zelda Link putting sword back into the Master Stone. Into his head.
You guys
It's like Gak.
successfully killed it.
Yep.
To which the remaining people who hadn't been killed in the crowd were just super thankful. They started yelling out, "Heroes of the Wide! Heroes of the Wide!"
It's a good thing that they forgot that we had also set ablaze part of the stage.
Right, we started
a
on
mob fire.
Yeah, with
but,
burning hands.
But
That was me.
relative evil.
Yep.
It's
You,
relative damages.
you killed the giant creature that was killing everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they asked, what do you call yourselves? And then
Pran woke up with a start.
With my dying
Well,
breath.
with your dying, semi-unconscious breath, shouted loud enough for the entire crowd to hear.
Neon Knights!
And I was like, no, that's not what we're called.
Me too. I was like, no.
And then it stuck because it stuck.
And then everyone was, from that moment, Heroes of the Wide, the Neon Knights,
Yep.
the Heroes of the Wide.
Pretty much. And then a bunch of stuff happened. We met the captain of, what was it? The Flaming
3
Fists?
people came and approached us.
serve the flaming fist.
Flaming Fist.
Yes, he sounded very smarmy and uppity, stick in the butt.
We had, so we met the captain of the 3, well, the now captain, because Abdal Adrian was the captain, right?
He was, yeah. And
And-
then upon Abdul Adrian's death, this guy became the
Became the
captain
guy,
of the
yep.
Flaming Fist.
He's like, oh, we could use your services. And then meanwhile, I was pulled aside by the Thieves Guild
Yep.
of Baldur's Gate, and I was told, oh, we could use your services. And then also Pran. No, wait.
No,
and then
I
wait.
was pulled aside by
by-
Maria Duck Brandybuck.
Imbrawley Skook.
And
Brawley
that's
Skook.
names.
That's it.
That's another theme that'll
Yep.
carry on through the...
And Brawley Skook, who also said, hey, we could use your help. You're very good guys. You know, probably help
And
us.
he represented the Thorin Oakenshield.
Nope. That's the
Silver Shield.
government. The
Silver
government.
Shield. Torrin,
the-
Torrin Silver Shield, I believe.
Yeah.
That name was, anyways,
We
that
always
guy.
just called him Silver Shield.
He was
Yeah.
one of the 4 lords. And now there was 3, because Abdul Adrian was also one of the lords. He was
Yep.
a lord and the captain of the Flaming Fist. So now there's only 3 lords, and this guy was one of them that Imbrawley Skook approached you on behalf of. So now you had 3 people wanting to talk to you, and your immediate response was, we can't go to all 3 locations at the same time. There's not enough time. Let's split up.
Yep.
Split
So that
party!
we can go to them all at the same time. Yep.
Yep.
Split the party, and it worked out great, actually. That was pretty good.
So I met with the Flaming Fist captain
Yep.
and propositioned him on potentially opening up a new chain of bakeries in the outer section of Baldur's Gate, because the place is kind of down in the dumps, and I feel like a bakery could help boost the economy and boost the spirits of the citizens.
Pran has a bias toward the Flaming Fist.
Yep.
From
And they're scum
past
of the earth.
lives.
Scum of the earth.
So,
They're always
yeah.
getting in people's way.
Yep.
They were
And-
they're just a bunch of thugs that were hired to be the town watch for the non-upper city areas.
Yes.
But I was able to procure some badges for us so that we could pretend that we were Flaming Fist guys.
Help, yes, it's true.
Yes.
That worked out.
Right. And then, I headed up to Silver Shield's place and figured out that he wanted the Thieves Guild, whatever, kind of monitored and figure out if they're responsible for certain things. And he gave us 3 locations to investigate. And he gave us the scroll with the right of search and seizure. So
Seizures.
we took a look around and kind of epilepsed on the floor a little while.
And then also in play with that, though, you met with the Thieves Guild.
The Thieves Guild, real surreal. Sat around for a while, chilled out. It was a nice chill evening, man.
And she asked you guys to steal something.
Right. Well, yeah. So the first
The rock
task was
box.
to actually steal from the Toll Guard, which was a member of the Flaming Fist. So right there, we had to choose allegiances.
Did we do it? No!
Yeah, no.
We helped everybody!
Yeah, we helped them. Well, kind of.
Kind of. Except for those Flaming Fists.
Except for those, yeah. We definitely did.
We definitely
Steal.
ignored the Flaming Fist. We
But
took
the-
their badge of leave us alone.
Yep.
And we abused it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also, while we were at it, stole from them. Because the mission was we had to steal from a tollkeeper who was charging a bit too much and taking too many things from people as they were passing through gates.
Oh,
And
No, the flaming. Oh, sorry. The flaming fist was. He was the one who wanted you to do investigate a few different locations. The search and seizure that Silver Shield gave you was for 2 different people you had to talk to.
Mm.
You had to talk to a silk merchant in the Wide, and you had to talk to an alchemist over near the Flaming Fist Tower.
Right.
Yeah.
Both who had ties to the Thieves Guild, although we couldn't really prove it
At that time. Yeah.
At that time, yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
And
The heist went off swimmingly.
Well,
we were positioned at the bottom of this slippery slope.
No, that's a separate situation. The
You
first
sure?
situation was weren't we walking through the gate or whatever, and there was the guy with like the check booth. And
oh yeah, no, that happened.
that happened before that. There
Okay,
was like
You
we were walking
you
through the
at Silver
gate.
Shields.
Okay, so
Because I was at Silver Shields and it was the Hugo
Pran
and
and Hugo,
Pran.
yeah.
Oh, forgot about that moment. That was a good moment.
Yes, it was quite good. Because this is
Oh.
the first instance of
Yeah.
the-
So just to rewind a second, when you guys were out heading towards to meet with the Thieves Guild, and you were heading out to meet with the Flaming Fist, before that you had to leave and head into the outer city to meet with those 2 groups.
Mhm.
And heading out into the outer city, there was a long line of people basically, and a checkpoint, and there were people were coming, and it was quite slow, and eventually you guys decided to just walk up and see what was going on, and it turned out that this little dwarf was taking goods from the people of the outer city as a tax, but he was taking like basically anything and confiscating it basically. So how'd you guys handle that situation?
We just strolled up with cocky and arrogant with our new hero.
You
the
just
Y
explained to him that what he was doing was wrong,
Yeah.
and that he should give us some stuff.
title.
And that was that.
That second part was aided with the
Yeah.
aid of a magical.
he didn't want to. He's like, who are you guys?
Yeah.
So one of my one of the things I specialize in is my mystical easy bake oven that once per day can conjure up a muffin of unparalleled power in the ways of persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone should say eat that muffin,
Willingly.
then willingly, then
Mhm.
they instantly become my friend.
But
In colloquial terms, it is the charm person muffin. Is what you were describing.
Mystic
it's
muffin.
charm
Mystic
person,
muffin,
but
charm
in the
person.
form of a muffin. Yep.
And if they receive the muffin and they eat it, then they roll to save versus being charmed.
Mm-hmm.
But if they save, they don't even know that the spell was cast because
Right.
they ate a muffin.
They just
Yep.
had a muffin, free muffin.
Yep.
Free muffins.
So it's the perfect disguise.
And turns out it was super effective on this guy because he gave us a bunch of shit, like
Yeah.
awesome stuff, like this.
Right
I
there.
had my ancient human rapier +1, which I still use to this day.
I totally forgot that that's where that came from.
That's where that came from,
Yeah,
and it helped me kick so much ass.
yeah, it has,
So much ass.
and in some quite entertaining ways.
And in some entertaining ways.
Because how does that sword work?
So I mean, it's a rapier of ancient human lineage, and the magics in it influence the wielder somewhat. While held, I am able to understand and speak ancient human. However, what people don't realize is that ancient human sounds a lot like Southern bumpkin.
Yep.
Gonna skew you like a pig.
Yep. So
Yep.
Often you
that
scream
happens.
those things when
And
running
I
into
can't help
combat.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
as I swing and hit, I find myself compelled to yell something. Bumpkin.
Get her done.
Yep.
Pick
up trucks.
That's right. Yep. Pretty much.
Okay, so that was
That's
the
why.
moment, and so then you guys met with everyone. You received different assignments they all wanted you to do. You interrogated some people for Silver Shield. Wires are falling.
Yep.
You
fine.
interrogated some people for Silver Shield. Couldn't really find any information, but later found out they were part of the Thieves Guild. Just couldn't prove it at that time.
Yep.
And then there was the heist. So the heist was for the Thieves Guild. They want you to steal this lockbox of. If I remember, it's the same dwarf too. It's the same guy.
It was the same guy.
Yeah, that you had charmed earlier. It was his lockbox of tolls, basically.
Charm.
Charm had worn off.
Yeah,
by this point.
but it was guarded by a bunch of flaming fists, and
strange.
it was heading down an alley. You knew it was, you had received information it would be going down this alley.
Yes.
And you had set
So
up.
we hatched a plan.
Yes.
An evil plan.
And that plan
One of
went
the good guys,
off.
by the way.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
So, well, yeah. So me and Hugo
Mm-hmm.
were. So this took place in an alley that was quite steeply sloped towards us.
Yep. In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, and me and Hugo were... So the plan was, me and Hugo sit at the bottom of this hill. Pran is sitting on this little bridge or walkway over the alley, and he casts Ray of Frost on the ground, and then all the guys slip down, and me and Hugo stop the chest as it slides by and let everybody else slide past us, because it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pran...
We forgot to mention that because you're an ex-lord, you also have retainers.
Right.
Yeah.
I also have 3 people with me, namely, what are their names? Fanny, Manny, and Enter.
Yep.
Don't ask me why his name is Enter. I asked him to, and he was not very forthcoming.
And then I believe there was a sewer involved as well. There was a sewer.
Yes, there was a sewer grate.
Mm-hmm.
So the plan was once we got the chest, we were going to climb down to the sewer grate, close it up, and then they'd be looking around, coming back up the hill, and be like, they're gone.
It was the
Nobody's
perfect
here.
plan.
It was perfect. And then
We're all in place.
everything was ready to go. And
The patrol was in place. I
Mhm.
was getting ready to cast Ray of Frosting, and suddenly from down the alleyway, I hear, "No, Bran, no!"
No. It was something else. It was...
stick to the plan.
Yeah, well, so the idea was that you were going to do Ray of Frost, but then you were starting to prepare a different spell. It's like, oh, what if I do this instead? And I was like, oh, nope, Bran, stick to the plan, Bran!
And the reason that this yelling is a bad idea is because they still didn't know we were down there.
Yep.
So his yelling alerted the guards
Yep.
that we were all around them watching them do stuff.
Yep.
And in the confusion, Pran casts his Ray of Frost, which goes over absolutely horribly.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily the guy holding the chest and a couple other people slid down the hill. So it did come towards us.
But quite a few of the party didn't slide.
Yes.
Like they held on.
Yeah, so they just kept standing up there.
Yep.
And the whole reason for this was that you guys were adamant that you did not want to kill anyone because
Right,
you didn't want to pick sides. So you
Right.
were like, you had
No.
to accomplish this mission
We had to
without
accomplish
killing.
it without causing death
Yep.
and harm. So we still didn't kill anybody.
Well, we
Because
certainly harmed.
We
quite a
certainly
few.
harmed a few people, including me, because what happened was we caught the chest,
Mhm.
and then we had to go down into the sewer, and we didn't know how deep it was,
Mm.
so I
You dropped the chest in first
no.
because you landed on the chest.
Nope.
Yes, no, I did.
Was that
Yes.
how that one worked?
We
Okay.
we lowered the chest and it fell. It
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
break. Whatever. We got down there, and then I went to climb in after it, and I rolled very poorly on that climb down, and I fell like 30 feet down a hole and landed with my back on a chest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of you, I think, managed to get away.
No, I climbed into the hole.
Oh,
With-
something
I had
else
to fight
happened
it.
before that.
I had to fight them off.
Yep.
Before we lowered the chest into the thing, while we were all laying in a heap or whatever near the chest with all the guys around us, someone stepped on my hand.
Right. And
So
that's,
someone stepped on my hand first, and
Yep.
then we dropped the chest into the hole, and then while I was climbing down, because my hand was wounded,
That's why
I
you fell
fell
down. Yeah.
and then landed with my back on the chest, so I lost quite a lot of
Yep.
health.
I was near
Yeah.
the hatch, the sewer grate, so I hopped in and was quite successfully landed.
And we told Fanny Man and Enter to kind of be a distraction,
scatter,
just run
yeah.
away, get out of here.
But then you were too far away, and all
I
the
needed
guards were
to
there.
cause a distraction because I didn't want all those guards ending up near you.
Mhm.
So I was trying to say that the Thieves Guild were stealing the chest and they're going that way.
Right.
And I tried to stop the assailant with my Ray of Frosting and missed, accidentally causing everyone to fall down. And that was my fault.
Yep.
And they didn't believe me, so I fucking ran.
Yep. Yep. That was pretty much it.
Right.
But we all successfully escaped.
So we
And-
got the chest.
and then you dropped the chest off. You successfully dropped that
Yes,
off.
Yes.
we delivered that.
And then you had to go close a tavern that same day. You had to get down to the harbor area,
Mhm.
and you had to close a tavern.
The Flaming Fist wanted us to do that, I believe.
Yeah,
Silver Shield.
Silver Shield
Oh, no,
wanted
Silver
you to
Shield, right.
interrogate the person there, but the
Right.
Flaming Fist
Just
wanted
wanted
you
us
to
to close
close.
the tavern.
Yeah,
Right.
which was
Right.
the low lantern, I believe.
Right.
Yep. Turns out that while we were there, this Flaming Fist had a backup plan, which was in the
Wait.
form of
We
dudes.
forgot a character.
We did.
A very important character.
Oh yeah.
How did I
No.
first meet him?
Waters.
Oh, Frank
He was-
Waters.
At
He
the
was
start.
at the wide right at the beginning. He was one of the guards that was like, "Oh, that was the coolest thing." He was one of the Flaming Fists that told us.
No, he was
No,
the Watch.
He was the town watch.
So
Yeah.
the
Right.
Watch is the upper city guard, and the
Yep.
Flaming Fist
Right.
is the lower and outer city guard.
Yep.
Yes. So this very very nice man, very like big fan of ours now, Frank Waters. We see him every time we're in town.
Mhm.
He was like, "Yeah, you guys are great." So we went down to the the pub
Mm.
that we were supposed to close
3
down.
old kegs.
No, it was Lower Lantern.
Lower Lantern.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of people in there, and there's like arguments and stuff going on. But Frank Waters was there, and he recognized us, and this big fight started going on.
Right, because the watch had already shown up.
Yes.
Silver Shield wanted to
And we were in there trying not to escalate things, and I was like, beer for everybody! And I spent 50 gold, and everybody got a beer, and then
Then you started talking for a little bit with the
Yes.
The owner?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lathander Thundereth. Yeah.
Yep.
And you got a bit of a conversation in before
more flaming fists
The
showed up
flaming fist.
outside.
yeah, and they came in through the roof too.
Yes, they broke every window.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much.
And so bad shit's going on, but we were like, we don't want to get involved in this because we're going to kill more people and we don't want to do that. So
We followed
Lady through secret trapdoor in back office into boat.
Right, she ran. She just booked it.
Yes, and we just like followed behind her. We're like, shit, let's go.
And
Follow her.
And you followed her, and you saw her throw the chair from her desk away, and then pull open a trap door, and then down below was a rope ladder leading to a little dinghy.
Yes.
And you guys basically took the dinghy, and then she took you back to the Thieves Guild.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is what happened.
And that was like, I think, one of your first nights, or that was the second night, because the first night you did all the meetings, and that was your second day, was basically running around trying to do all of these things for everyone.
Yep.
Trying to get it all done.
And we did.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
And even when you like ran out of there and the Flaming Fist and Watch were all there and saw you, you still managed to talk your way out of that situation and still keep yourself in good graces with pretty much all of them.
Yep.
You woke up the next day in the Thieves Guild in the what was that district called? That was the Little Calamishan,
Right.
and which was a part of the outer city. And you guys woke up, and the Flaming Fists were going house to house looking for something.
Possibly us.
Possibly you guys.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they were looking for,
Okay.
but it wasn't you. It wasn't you. They were looking
It didn't
for.
turn out to be us.
No.
So
And then what did you guys have to do after that?
I think we decided to
We went
Go back
back.
to Silver Shield.
We went back
Yeah.
to the 3 old kegs. We ended up fighting the guy.
Right. You had a guy. You wanted to. You guys wanted to know what was going on with Abdul Adrian.
Yeah.
That's where that started. Is
Right.
now you guys had seen all this stuff going on. You were like, what happened to Abdul Adrian? He
Right.
died. Who killed him?
Right.
And no one seemed really concerned with that. The three different groups of people were more concerned with each other than actually finding out who the hooded figure was.
Right.
And so you guys were like, you know what? Forget all this. We're going to go to Abdul Adrian's office in the High Hall, which is like the big political building, kind of the justice. It's where they hold all the courts and stuff. He would have an office there. You go to that office and see if you could find any information about Abdul Adrian.
Was it at this point that we asked for a favor to be led there through the undercellar?
Yes.
Undercellar?
This would be the undercellar.
Undercellar.
Yeah, which is the sewer area underneath. There's a tavern area, which I don't think you ever got to the main tavern part, but part of that's the undercellar.
Right.
So the sewers and the undercellar is all under Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. So we were led there for a bit by a guide from the Thieves Guild who just left us there.
Okay, just abandoned us.
Abandoned us at one point. So we explored for a bit, ended up in
This cavern. No. We found this cavern.
Right.
Because things happened in that cavern. There were some kobolds in there
Mm.
that we fought. So we entered this room, and there was like a switch on the door, and there was a switch on the far door.
Mm.
We were all in the room, we flicked the switch, and we failed trying to disarm this trap, and then both the doors closed.
Yep.
And some kobolds fell in through the ceiling in
Yep.
a hole way far above us. So we handily dispatched them,
Mm.
and we were trying to figure out how to get out through the hole in the roof because we couldn't get through the doors on the side. So I was like, I'm going to throw a rope up there, my grappling hook.
Mm.
And I threw my grappling hook up and gave it a few tugs and was like, yeah, this is fine. So I went to climb up, and then we hear this scraping of wood, and and I get nailed in the head with a barrel like 3/4 full of water.
Yep.
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 So that happened.
Yay.
Because you gave it a bit of a tug, and you were like, oh, it seems pretty
This is
sturdy.
fun. Not very smart.
Yeah.
Nope.
So instead, we threw up another grappling hook, and the shorter, lighter fellow climbed up first, checked out what was going on. It turns out it was a cellar of someplace, some establishment, which we didn't know yet. And then, so found a more sturdy place to hook onto, and then everybody managed to climb up. But there was another kobold in there, or like a...
No, there was a
No.
guard.
There was a guard.
He
Right,
went
in
up
the next
the
room.
stairs,
There was
yeah.
a guard in the next room who
was guarding this door. He was
Yep.
like leaning against the door or something. So
Yep.
we're just like, we're not going to wake this guy up. So I just went up and kicked really hard on the door and
Kicked down the door.
smashed the guy in the head, and he was knocked out unconscious.
That's
And
right.
you guys were gonna leave, and then you
And then I
decided
fed him a muffin.
you fed him a charmed person muffin. And at this point, I think there was a realization that charmed person muffins don't immediately make people do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Instead, it just technically the spell reads makes you a friend.
Makes
so,
a friend of him. Yeah. That's right. That's how we
And
clarified
then we
that.
realized, oh
For
shoot,
now.
yeah. So yeah. So then he was friendly towards you guys and filled you with some information. And I can't remember what the results of that was.
didn't know
We basically
much.
found out
Yeah.
that we found out where we were, which was the three old kegs,
Yeah.
and that's like how we figured out that the three old kegs is actually a front for the Thieves Guild, like one of the centers of operation for the Thieves Guild.
Yep.
So yeah, that was interesting information. That was where we were
But
staying.
you guys
Yay.
couldn't figure out whether or not the Thieves Guild had tried to hurt you or what had happened, why that
Right.
guy had tried to. And I don't think you ever did find out.
No, that wasn't
We
really
never figured out what that guy was.
what that guy was.
No.
We didn't.
Not that
figure.
it would potentially was important for the overarching story, but
Right.
yeah.
For now.
Oh,
But he got away. So
remember me,
we met up with
Steve?
we went to Abdel Adrian's offices, found a hidden compartment in there.
Yeah, I
which
believe
held-
Frank Waters met you outside.
Yeah.
Right, because they were clearing the place out.
No,
No,
that
no.
was you went. That was his house later.
Oh,
Spoilers.
Just later, yeah.
Uh,
Whoa,
so-
spoilers. Come on, man.
So then, you guys went to the office, and Brawley Skook was there.
Yep.
He led you up. That was who was there, and you
Right.
were you were trying to find out what was going in the office, but you also didn't want Brawley Skook seeing anything that you were doing.
Yep. So I tried to distract him with my wiles and charisma talk. I think it did okay.
Well, we were
Yep.
snooping.
We did well. We
Well,
were snooping
meanwhile,
inside.
yeah, Brandy and Pran figured out what the hell was going on in that office.
We ended up finding a mystical orb.
An
Yep.
orb and a
And-
helmet.
You found a
No.
stone orb.
Wasn't it?
We found a helmet and
Yeah.
talkie-talkie
Mm-hmm.
later.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so
And we found some lockpicks
Oh yeah, we found a
Found
set
a
of
thieves'
thieves'
tools.
tools.
and
There was
a
like a-
ring.
in a ring.
And
There was a note that said that we would need these to find the way or something like that.
Yeah, I believe the orb was labeled as his will and testament. That was
The orb would lead you to his last will and testament.
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That was the note inside, and the items would help lead you to his will and testament.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think the note also that said that you'd need to go to his house. I can't.
No. When we first grabbed the orb, we kind of had this vision of
Right.
being in, but he couldn't tell. But me and
There was
Fran
a
were just sitting
magical-
there, just looking around, just we are not where we were.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then Hugo's just kind of looking at us, looking around in wonder, and he's just why are you guys looking around the room like
Right.
idiots?
Yep. It was a magical illusion that only you two experienced because
Right.
you were close enough.
Yep.
So
And-
we're where's this place?
And so you figured out that must have been his house.
Yes.
And so that's why you went to Abdel Adrian's house.
Yes.
Right.
So we head to Abdel Adrian's house. We see Frank Waters was there, and him and a bunch of other of the watch guards were cleaning the place out.
Yep. But because we knew Frank Waters so well, we asked him to, give us some time in the area. And
Look around, pay our
check
last
things out.
respects.
That's right. To which he obliged.
course he did.
Quite kindly.
Without being charmed.
Quite kindly.
He's already charmed.
He's all right. He was quite charmed.
Good guy.
Yep.
That Frank.
So we explored the house for a bit, got into his study, found a pedestal or a table. After searching there, we're like shit out of all the bookshelves.
Yep. And you found some stuff.
We did
Yep.
actually.
That's nice.
But there was a table, right?
Yep.
It was in the table, and there was
It was a small model of an inn or whatever, and a area around it, and
Yep.
there was we could see an illusion of little people walking around, and
Yep.
we saw this little guy walk over to a rock and put something down next to it, or something.
put something under the rock, and then
Right.
we'd go back,
Which
and then
thing?
it would just go into the
I
loop.
thought about snooping around, and I found a tiny little compartment on the table,
Mm.
and
Where
I
the
placed
rock
my
was.
ring in there, and it opened up.
A whole other section.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then.
We never actually went to that inn, right? Because that inn was a place outside of Baldur's Gate.
The Friendly Arm in.
Friendly Arm Inn, and we were going to investigate it just because of curiosity, why is this place here? But we never did.
It was just
Yep.
And then, so then you guys went through the secret passage, and as you were going through there, it was actually magically darkened.
right.
With a series of challenges.
Yeah.
So this is where we did find the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
There was the helmet, the ring,
helmet
and-
that allowed you to always see perfectly in darkness.
Lord Helmet.
So I put that on.
Yeah.
And think I was holding your hands. And there was a bunch of like holes and stuff in the floor that we had to keep like jumping over.
You guys tied each other with rope.
Right. Each of us tied each other to ropes, and like I think one of you fell down the hole one of the times. We pulled you back up and kept going. We made it through the tunnel and stepped out through the other side of the darkness.
And then you found a display case. And you open up that display case to find a sword.
Right.
And that sword was Lilikor.
Yes, it was.
And Lilikor,
It's a sentient two-handed sword.
yes.
Yes. So I, being the largest person and the only one really who could wield it, picked it up, and it immediately started talking and requesting to go kill things.
And hasn't stopped since.
Yes.
And it talks out loud. It's not like in his head.
No,
it's
it
not,
is-
everybody can hear me, so I got to be careful when we're in quiet situations because he goes like, he wants to kill people.
He basically just yells, murder, death, kill, or, are we going to kill something soon?
Yeah.
So that was Lilikor, and when he picked up and started talking, the door, or the floor beneath you fell away.
Thank you, sir.
And you guys fell quite some distance and landed into a dark room full of zombies.
Right.
And Lilikor talked you through stabbing them. I think
Right.
you also had...
I still had my helmet.
right.
So I could still... No, I didn't. For some reason, my helmet didn't work in this darkness.
Because of the magical darkness.
Because it was magical darkness or something like that.
No, it works in magical darkness.
Then why would he be telling me how to swing my sword? I couldn't see for some reason.
No, you could see, but he was also yelling out, like, where to go. So even if you didn't have the helmet, I think he was going, you gotta swing here, you gotta
Right.
swing there.
Right, so he's just kind of basically talking me through, like, mowing these zombies down. We just annihilated them, which was awesome.
It was basically, yeah. That's how
And
we
then-
learned that Lilikor was an intelligent talking sword
Yep.
that could actually help us. instead
And
of being
then,
annoying.
I believe then you guys opened some large old wooden doors to where you believed you would find
Will and Testament?
the Will and Testament, and instead you found an empty room
That's right.
with a hole in the wall and drag marks from the center of the room leading through this broken open wall into a dark tunnel. And you followed that to find that actually some goblins had broken in while digging tunnels and found this deep underground crypt where his Will and Testament was kept, and they had dragged it off. And so following through the tunnels, you eventually came to a throne room where a goblin-ish king was sitting on a throne, and he was kind of talking to all his subjects. And in the corner, you saw a large stone golem. But it was a cyclops golem
Shape,
With
yeah.
the eye missing.
with the eye missing, and you all of a sudden realize this stone orb
Yeah.
was actually his
golem's eye.
The
the
eye.
golem's eye.
So we gave we gave Hugo
Yep.
the orb,
Mhm.
while me and Pran kind of snuck up. And,
Yeah, so decided to... Right. You guys had started fighting at this point.
I think we were getting ready.
You're getting ready. I decided to sneak my way around this giant cavern with this orb to the golem. Managed to get there. Managed to suck it in.
Yep.
The orb. And the golem came to life. It was like, and just proceeded to start punching the ever living shit out of
and that was when we
everything.
found out
Yeah.
that the name of the golem,
Was
or
Will.
no, the golem's fists
Fists
were
was
named Will,
Will
and Testament.
That's right.
Yep.
And he proceeded to pummel the goblins into very small pieces. In fact, he punched one from top to bottom so hard that we detected the Higgs boson,
Yep.
which I
So
thought
much
was
force.
amazing.
So much force.
Feel the power of Will and Testament. Smash.
Yep. He detected the threats and he went to town. You
Yep.
know.
Thankfully, he didn't detect us as threats.
Nope. And you basically got to ask him any information you wanted about Abdal Adrian. And you basically found out Abdal Adrian was a Bale spawn. What? And that you found out a whole bunch of history about Bale and how, like, basically he had, had a whole bunch of children. His essence was left in them, and then when he died, basically his essence was still amongst all of his children. And then Abdal Adrian was concerned that when he died, he believed he was the last Bale spawn. When he died, Bale might be resurrected because all of his essence would then be released into the nether, for lack of a better word.
Leave.
Yeah, into the weave. Yeah, there's a better Forgotten Realms term. So then, and so he was concerned. So he had left this will and testament as a kind of information dump for anyone who would find it and be willing to pass his kind of trials of intelligence and strength and teamwork and such and such. And then they would know, the threats that may lie ahead. So now you knew that Bale may have been, influencing Baldur's Gate. This whole time. And the aggravation between the three groups now seemed to make a little more sense. And so you guys hadn't quite come to that realization completely yet, but it was brooding. And then you basically said you want to come with us, and the golem sadly said, no, I have to stay in this area.
You wanted a golem companion because you wanted to secretly be a mechanical mage. Mecha mage?
Yeah. Or I'm riding a
golem on the shoulder. Yeah.
And it punches guys, and I cheer.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Did not happen, sadly. So then you got all the way back out. There was a teleportal basically that led you back to the library, and then I don't know. You guys went back to the inn.
Yeah, then a bunch of shit went down.
So then, a lot
that
of
was when
stuff
there was
happened.
like rioting or whatever in the streets and stuff. And
Right.
like these new laws or whatever were being passed saying that people there was curfews.
Oh,
and
right.
shit and stuff like that.
Cohen, that I think was when Corin met, approached you guys and basically said, I've been hearing some stuff and there's some things going on, and I'd like you guys to look into some shipments that have been suspiciously, been entering Baldur's Gate.
So
the wagon.
There's a lot of instigation going on.
Yeah.
There was the lords of Waterdeep, lords of Baldur's Gate were passing a bunch of these laws that were telling,
Specifically Silver Shield,
passing all these laws that were restricting what people could and could not do in the Upper City and the Lower City, and like weird things like nobles had to dress a certain way, and like the lowborn servants and stuff had to dress a certain way.
The merchants had to wear merchant type clothing,
or be kicked out.
Yep.
And dueling was now allowed in the streets to settle matters. Just a bunch of shit that really makes people not so happy.
Yep.
And then gives them a way to deal with it through dueling. The Thieves Guild was instigating a bunch of riots because they had enough of all this bullshit.
Yep.
And they were
there was they started burning down houses.
Which was one of our various adventures. Saw Pran Spider-Man his way in through a burning building.
The power of Ray of Frost. I was able to extinguish the blaze and save the girl.
Yep. And yeah, I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff, but there's a bunch of things that happen.
I mean, then you guys hit up the. No. I mean, because a lot of this ran through and started to get a bit
a bit long.
Yeah.
So there's that. There was the Thieves Guild, and then there was also the Flaming Fist, who were just being dicks.
Yeah, well, they instigated basically law and jury. Each Flaming Fist member would just be the judge, jury, and executioner.
They were all Judge Dreds.
Basically. And then you guys, on Corin's request, went through and broke into the Harbor Master's house, found some documentation about basically a lot of this, for lack of smoke powder, which is basically equivalently gunpowder, being
Gnomish crowd pleasers.
Gnomish crowd pleasers being sent in, and you went and talked to the firework expert who the shipments were being sent to. Yep. He had no idea that there was extra Gnomish crowd pleasers being sent in, and that was a bit of another dead end. And then I think that's when the riots hit.
There was a big riot that happened.
And while the riots were happening, we saw Umbraliskuk being sneaky and devilish for some reason, doing something. We need to follow his ass. So we chased him down.
I think we saw him in the Lower City for some reason, which is weird for a lord or something.
Yeah, and so what happened was you were on the wall. You had been called to the wall because basically there was a massive riot from the Outer City and Lower City marching on the Upper City, basically the noblemen protesting, and you got to the wall and the Flaming Fist were on the wall kind of just minding and trying to make sure that no one came through and just,
ready to shoot some fools.
Yeah, and then you saw Umbraliskuk talking to some people, and then shortly after, the people that Umbraliskuk was speaking to shot crossbow bolts out into the crowd, and then that ignited basically a huge riot of people fighting and just people getting killed in the streets.
Yeah, so we chased him down to figure out why he done that.
Now we should take a moment and explain that the reason why, we figured out piece together why all these things were happening. Like the three factions were kind of getting agitated, and why all this was happening was because Baal is the Lord of Murder.
Yep.
And he only gets stronger the more murder happens.
Yep.
So all this stuff was basically some Baal spawn was still out there, kind of, potentially.
Trying to make murder happen.
Well, something was happening. Somebody
Yeah.
was causing a bunch of things to happen
Yep.
that would incite more murder. Turns out all three factions were doing it, so we couldn't really figure out who.
Well, yeah, and
But-
so what happened was, and at this time you didn't realize that the factions were involved in this. You had inklings that something was up. I believe the main thought was that Brawley Skook was behind a lot of it. But when you went to chase him down, you couldn't find him.
Mhm.
But there was an explosion in a street area.
Yep.
And that explosion was near Brawley Skook's house.
Mhm.
And when you went and investigated that, you found a basically hidden in a stool, a stool leg. You guys basically searched and you found this map of what was the basement of the High Hall.
Yep.
And there was
Where all the lords were being kept.
yeah, because of the riots, everyone was being put into the High Hall for safety, and so everyone was in this High Hall because it used to be
A fortress.
a fortress. But when now Baldur's Gate's so big, it's kind of just a political building. But it used to be a fortress when the city was smaller, and so everyone was hiding in there. And so you see all this X's on this pillar structures, and you're like, oh, they're gonna do something to the High Hall.
It was at this point where we were watching a lot of Sherlock, and I was like, ooh, I get to be a detective. Check the stools. Okay,
Deduction.
cool. Yep, that was pretty cool.
So we headed to the High Hall.
Ran to the High Hall,
And-
found
As you were heading there, there was an explosion from the harbor
in the
Which
jail
we-
or
in
something.
the jail.
which
yeah.
we ignored.
It was like, fuck it, that's not, whatever.
It's not
Yeah.
important right
Ah.
now. So we just kept running to the High Hall, and we got there.
Mhm.
So this is where you were running through the streets and you saw Brawley Skook, and you guys once again decided it would be a great idea to split up.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You-
You wanted to go to the High Hall and talk
to convince Silver Shield to stop being a friggin' idiot.
Yep.
and to warn everyone basically.
Right, well, and tell them what we saw in Brawley
And like
Skook
get
doing.
everybody out of the High Hall
Yes.
potentially. And Pran and Hugo, we decided to go and chase Brawley's Cook.
Yep.
Down the alleyways.
Through a
to-
sewer grate area,
Through sewer, yeah, like
sewer pipe.
yep, going down, down, down into the basement of the High Hall, where we found this elaborate scheme to blow up the pillars, the supporting pillars of the High Hall, causing a giant collapse of the entire structure, killing everybody inside.
Yep.
Ideally.
Instead of lighting it with like a torch or something, he decided to summon fire imps.
Yep. Who would dance around and then ignite trails of gunpowder, which would lead to the pillars,
Right.
and it was very Inspector Gadgety.
So while that's going on, I'm upstairs in the High Hall, and everybody's in there seeming kind of worried, and Silver Shield is sitting at a table with two sort of advisor-looking guys, but they were wearing dark robes, and they looked really creepy, and didn't trust them at all. And he was eating some food or something, and I just kind of walked up to him, smacked the food out of his hand, grabbed him by the scruff of the thing, and like pulled him up towards me. He's like, I like told him, like, you are being an idiot.
He had the shard by now, right?
Yeah,
Yes, I've always had a piece of the shard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
which
Pulled
came
him up.
into play occasionally. But
Yes.
yes, continue.
and then I let him go, and he was like, kind of revealed himself. Didn't he right away?
at that
Is
point,
that-
yeah,
Yeah,
the jig was up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his eyes glowed with black flame.
Right.
Yep.
And he basically announced that he was a servant of Baal,
Mhm.
and that he was the chosen of Baal,
Right.
and thus the black flame from the eyes,
Yep.
and that he would destroy everyone here in the name of Baal, murder everyone. And at that point, people started getting agitated, and the people in the hall started fighting each other.
Yes. And then the two guys that were standing next to him stood up, pulled swords out, and started doing stuff. Back to the guys downstairs. You guys
Oh, yeah.
managed to stop 3 of the fire imps, but one of them
Yeah, one of them
made it
succeeded.
to the gunpowder trail.
Yep.
And
Lit it
blew
up.
up one of the pillars.
Yep. Which collapsed one of the corners of the fortress floor.
Floor, so it fell down, which conveniently it fell in kind of like a scraggly rock
Yeah, which we were able to
climb
up.
hill that
Like
you
a
could
ramp.
climb up.
Yep.
You killed Brawley Skook in. How did you kill Brawley Skook?
So we tried to negotiate at first. He
Mhm.
was having none of that.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of sick of chatting with people, and I just picked up this awesome Staff of Thunder and Lightning that I haven't used yet. Let's see how good this thing is. Fired a bolt of lightning, and incinerated Imbralius Cook in one shot.
It nailed him, and he just kind of went.
Yep.
That's
And it
right.
was gone.
That wasn't the fire method that did that, though. The fire
yeah.
method didn't light it. It was the staff of thunder and lightning was
Spark.
what it
All
sparked
right,
one of
a
them.
spark from Umbrali's Cook's exploding corpse.
Yeah.
Landed on the thing, blew up the pillar. Pillar collapses. There's
Right.
a big walk right up to the floor. And you guys hear fighting, whatever, and stuff going on upstairs, so you guys make your way upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I alone am fighting these two, like, demonish thingies or whatever. And you guys just barely make it upstairs when you see me get cut down.
Mm-hmm. Shanked
Yep.
Totally stabbed.
like a G.
Bad.
Yep. And well, and if, yeah. And then
So that happened. So they're fighting their way towards me. I think Frank Waters was in there somewhere. And all of a sudden, I started glowing.
Well, there was a pink radiance when you were falling to the floor.
Yeah, like you were getting smoked by those guys.
Yeah, really bad.
And then you just like ignited in like this rosy hue.
Yep. And the whole room filled with the rosy light.
There was a black mist or fog or something that was enshrouding
The
evil
two
party.
the two people on either side of Silver Shield, the cloaked, hooded guys, had these swords that emanated darkness, and which was fine for you because you still had the
Because I
helm
could
to
see in the dark,
see through the darkness.
Right.
But the rosy light completely destroyed all of the darkness, and all of the people in the hall stopped fighting. And then kind of came to the senses, and that's where Frank Waters came in and started rushing people
Right,
out.
rushing people out. And then I, all of a sudden, for some reason, was like fully healed and like super fucking strong. So kicked people's asses again.
Yeah, and you managed to take out the two guys, and
He took out the two guys, but Silver Shield was still alive.
Yes.
And then he was like infused with even more dark magic, and the dark emanated again.
Yep.
In which case, I was too far away to really be of any effect.
Yep.
So-
Couldn't see anything.
I was like, well, rosy red light worked the first time, and I cast light on I grabbed a dinner roll
Yep.
and cast light on it to match that color that flew, and I threw it at Brandy, and it just kind of landed on the table and expelled the darkness.
Yep. And then you were able to put a dagger through him, I believe.
Yes,
or
I believe I just like,
Lilicore.
stabbed him in the neck
Yep.
or something like that. Like, yeah,
And he went down.
killed him. Killed him pretty good.
And Hugo, I believe you shot a whole bunch of crossbow bolts that were also effective.
Pinned him good.
Yep.
Stuck him like a pincushion.
We
Yeah,
did.
we
We hit him a lot.
brought them all down, and then you successfully saved a whole bunch of people again.
Yep,
I
and
don't
then
think
Frank
anyone-
Waters was there yet again. We're like, yeah, Neon Knights.
And Corn was in the area, and Corn kind of came up and was like, "Oh, I'll try and take care of this situation as well. You know, I'll try and mitigate it." But he was very thankful.
Yep.
And you guys were given a festival or a
Yes,
feast
right.
in your honor, kind of thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Good
Truly the
saved.
heroes of Baldur's Gate.
Save Baldur's Gate
Good feast.
from.
And then during that time,
I started having more visions.
yeah, you started getting more visions. So throughout, you had the shard was in effect throughout most of the Baldur's Gate stuff. You were getting visions about where to go and different things during the dawn. You always receive visions during the dawn.
Yes.
So those were happening. They were definitely affecting you, but it's not anything super neat about talking as we went through words. So the. But now, during this week of kind of recovering, you guys you received a whole bunch of visions.
Yes. And I also realized that out of nowhere, there's this weird like tattoo or marking of a.
No, that came later.
Did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember.
So then,
I don't remember.
no, that's fine. And then,
I wasted some time. I requested a permit to open up shop in the outer city. Now that we had some extra money and some extra fame,
Yep.
figured we could get like our own little like bakery going called the Radiant Roll, which would be pretty awesome.
Yep.
So I made that, and I spent the rest of my time like performing a ritual so I could get a familiar.
Yep.
So I was able to summon a mystical crow that I named Cheryl.
Yep.
Cheryl Crow.
Yep. Cheryl the Crow.
Get it?
Ah.
Yeah.
And then you went off to learn more about the ways of
I
assassinry.
decided to, because of my sweet leveling up,
Yep.
decided to become more adept at the art of killing things.
Yep.
And stabbing them.
Which was a good call.
Yeah.
Has been working out thus far.
It's been working on it so far, yeah.
And then after that, you received your feast, and you received a magic ring that glows blue when evil is nearby. but needs to be drenched in the blood of evil every so often for it to remain powered. And then your visions was pointing to you towards a house in the lower city. And you guys headed to that house, and there was how did that? It was a house that you.
It was just an unassuming house. It's just a house it's non-remarkable. It's just a house that was there.
But it
looked
looked
really old.
super, really old, run down, and it
Yes.
almost looked run down enough that it would seem like it would, you'd notice
Attract
it,
attention, but
it doesn't
it
seem
didn't.
to. And you went inside, explored around for a little bit, found some different stuff, some priest robes of Lathander and some different things, but nothing really. It was a weird house because there was a bedroom upstairs and that was it, and there was a lounge downstairs and that was it. So you guys head down into the basement, and which is where your vision was leading you, and you found the chest that you had seen in your vision, and you opened it up and you saw another shard, similar to the one you had, and when you put it together, it fused, and then the seam was gone. And then as you're looking at this new, larger form shard, you now have two pieces now in a large piece, and a hand reaches around and grabs it from you. And there is this crazy old man who starts yelling in gibberish and nonsense about what have you done to my shard? What do you do to your shard? And he just...
No, how did he sound?
Well, I believe he was something like, my shard, your shard, what do you do to them? Why do you do this? Why you come here? What do you do? And it's just kind of talking in a nonsensical way.
Did you do that?
And lots of riddles and doublespeak. That's the word, doublespeak. Lots of doublespeak. And so you guys tried to stop him and get the shard back. And Hugo, you dove for him and jumped out of the way. And Pran, you cast grease and he slipped and slid around but didn't matter. And then Hugo, you used command and he just went, nope. What did I say?
You said Hugo.
Oh, Brandy. Oh, and so and then Brandy, you cast command and he just said nope. And then he just basically decided to give you back the shard. Or no, he ran upstairs.
Yes.
And revealed a secret room in the lounge, which had an office, and he pulled out papers. And then he pulled down your back pants and revealed with the light of the shard that you had a rosy tattoo on your butt.
Yeah, I did. He did do that. That happened.
Yeah, and he showed you the document saying that the rose tattoo meant that you were a chosen of Lathander, which was quite hilarious.
Which is cool. But damn, that god could pick a better spot to put these tattoos.
And then you
just kissed you.
And so you had a mission. You basically, if you were chosen of Lathander, you had a mission, and the priest told you that you were probably supposed to go gather the shards. And he told you long ago he had once tried to gather other shards other than the one he had. And he knows that outside of town, kobolds used to have one.
Right. Where's the weapon charts?
It's in there, next page. Or next two more pages. That one?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So he told us, there's some kobolds outside of town that we had to go and find and get the shard back.
Yeah, and he had told you that he had went before and he'd lost two friends, Liv and Lob.
Right.
And that they the Ranger twins, and that he had lost them at this kobold place, but it was years ago.
This is acrobatic twins.
Yeah, and so you guys were like, all right, well, we'll go and see if we can find the another shard, basically. And so you headed out, and you were like, how are we going to get there? And you spoke to the Thieves Guild, and you found out some information that there was a druid that you could get help from to find this kobold cave. And you guys headed out to the front and found a couple merchants leaving town, and so you thought you'd hitch a ride. And you saw a dwarf and a gnome and a drow merchant. And you guys went, whoa!
Drow merchants sound cool. Don't screw with those guys.
What's a drow doing out here? Yeah, pretty much.
And so you went over, and he was dealing in maces. He was a drow merchant, drow mace merchant, and he was loading up his cart full of maces. And you basically said, we'd like a ride out of town, just a little ways north. And he basically said, why would I give you a ride? And you guys were like, well,
we can pay.
We can pay. And he said, well, how do I know you won't stab me in the back? And then you offered him something.
That's right. I received in the previous quest, as a reward, received a mace of kick-ass. I can't remember what
Like a
the
mace
mace
of
was.
evil.
Mace
Yeah,
of Fear.
mace of
It was
fear.
the mace that Silver Shield had when he went all
Right.
crazy,
Right.
chosen.
We got to keep it, but we didn't really need the mace, so instead we offered it as payment to the mace merchant,
Yep.
who was super interested in this mace.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that was sufficient. And we managed to get our ride.
Yeah, he was super
Out of town.
fascinated with that, and he was just like, "Yeah,
Figured,
let's go.
all right. Anybody who has this and offers this to me is gotta be good.
That's good payment.
Yeah.
All right." And so you guys left in the cart,
Mm-hmm.
and tried to talk to him a bit. Couldn't really get much out of him.
Nope. I
And
was just doing a job.
Fanny, Manny, and Enter with you guys, and you left out of town, and
They're all with us.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I'm not sure why, but they were.
We were taking them along.
Yep.
And then we got ambushed
By kobolds.
by kobolds.
Kobolds on wolves.
Yep.
On wolves.
And they rode up next to the horses and started slashing at them.
Yep. And,
And,
we're like, fuck that.
The drow merchant immediately jumped up, threw the reins down, which Pran, I believe, you grabbed.
Which I caught
Grab the
with
reins.
gusto.
He hopped on one of his horses. The drow merchant hopped on one of his horses. and
No,
just kind of
no.
threw it
He
off.
tried to jump on one of the horses, and he failed.
Mhm.
And he actually ended up falling behind and had to run really
Someone
fast
caught
to
it.
catch back up.
No, I caught him before he fell too far.
You
And
grabbed him.
I grabbed him.
And pulled him back on, but he thought he pulled on like he was just normal, but he quickly grabbed some plate mail from underneath the cart,
Mhm.
put it on, and then in full plate mail tried
Iron
to
Man
jump
style.
at the
Yep,
jump
pretty
on the
much.
horse, and then totally missed.
And totally missed.
And then you managed to grab him, pull
Yep.
him back on the cart. Meanwhile, while all this was happening, one of the kobold riders beat up the horse enough that
I couldn't control it.
couldn't control it, and it went over the side because there was basically a cliff along the right side of the cart.
It was like
And-
Tokyo Drift for a while.
yeah, and then the whole cart came rolling over, and Pran, you cast Featherfall.
I cast Featherfall.
On himself.
Well,
Yeah.
No, I cast on the whole.
there were too many targets because Featherfall only affects so many people.
Yep.
He had to pick and choose his targets.
Right.
And
So
he figured.
he chose to save the maces and the carriage and himself.
No.
And the retainers, the merchant, and himself. But
Oh, right.
That was
So
five.
me and Hugo and the carriage and all the maces inside it
Yep.
went tumbling down the hill, and we got battered and bruised a whole bunch.
you got battered and bruised.
Right. Of course it was
Hugo, the assassin,
me. Just kind of jumped out of the way, kind of like log rolling.
cartwheeled away.
log
Yeah.
rolling
down. Yep.
Whereas I was flipping end over end with it, still holding on to the edges, so it like crushed my fingers every time it rolled over, and then it landed on top of me, and I was just kind of laying there underneath the carriage full of maces.
good while, yeah.
for a
And
good
you
long
guys were just, and the retainers, the drow merchant, and Pran were just slowly feather falling down the side.
Mhm.
And then more kobolds and wolves rode out of the woods and came down and started stealing maces.
Yep.
And trying to get away. And you managed to get a couple of them, but they got off with about 12 or 15 maces.
Yep. To which the drow merchant was like, "Fuck all that noise," and charged off with them or after them.
Yep,
but we
the one good horse that was still left.
Yep.
The other one died, so
Left.
he rode off.
But we still had a mission for
Finding that.
Finding
the kobold cave.
the mage,
yeah. So
or the whatever.
No.
the wanted to find the
the
druid.
druid. Yes.
we wanted to find the druid that would help us find the kobold cave.
Right.
So we walked up the road some, found the the hut, and Hugo was not impressed because here we
They didn't
are
like druids.
back in the land of druids.
Meanwhile, Fenny and
Fucking
Manny
smoking up all
Enter,
day.
who were party animals apparently,
Whereabouts.
detected the smell, and they really liked this place.
Yep.
So we went inside, and he had food. He had like a stew or something. We had like
Yeah,
a
he
carrot
had
stew or something.
like a druid stew.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Frackenberg.
Right.
Right, and Frackenbirch had this great stew, and you wanted him to lead you to the Kobold Cave, but he wasn't thrilled on that. But you talked to him about how he could expand his stew and his business.
He had a great product. I mean, it was just something that the world needed to see, and he needed to get reimbursed for it.
So
So,
your entrepreneurial nature.
yeah, so I've got some connections with like some merchant guilds and some culinary skills, and I was just like, we need to take this to market, man. And he was very interested.
So with basically you told him about some things, and for
like,
exchange for the leading you to the Kobold.
Yep.
So he led you as far as he could to the Kobold Cave,
Mhm.
and then said it's basically that,
Or he
right?
pussied out.
Well, yeah, and And then he said, I'm heading back. And Fanny, Manny, and Enter stayed with him at the cottage.
Yes, they did.
They are always safely out of combat. As much as possible.
Yeah, because I feel like they're just retainers. They're not combat.
Right.
So, and then then you guys managed to find the cave. You went in. It was completely empty. And you found this entrance, went through, and you found a door. And behind that door there was 2 zombie elves.
Yep.
Right. So, this deserves a bit more in-depth explanation.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're walking through this cave, and there's this door, and it's locked, and we don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
So we get Hugo to open the door. There's no traps.
No lock lurkers.
The door was no lock lurkers.
Check for lock
Door
lurkers.
opens quite easily. The room is pitch black. It's kind of L-shaped, so it's straight ahead from us looking through the door, and then it curved off to the left. And we could hear like shuffling, and there was bad smells coming from back to the left. So we wanted to see what was going on. So we got Pran to make a light muffin,
Radiant roll.
radiant roll, throws it into the room, and it kind of lights up the back room, and me and Hugo kind of slowly sneak in while Pran stays and watches the door.
Mm-hmm.
And we must add in at this point that Hugo at some point had obtained a helmet of disguise, or a toque of disguise.
That's right.
That allows him to imitate other people and look and sound like other people.
Yep.
So we walk into this room,
Mm-hmm.
and we see these 2 guys in the back, and we're like, I think that's Living Lob.
Yeah, it's got to be elves in the
Yeah.
kobold cave. Even though they're undead, that's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. So we tried calling out to them, and they kind of didn't really respond to us at all in any sort of way.
Mm.
So we're like, they don't know who we are, but they might know who that creepy old guy was that talked about being friends with them.
Yep.
So we got Hugo
Yep.
to put on his helmet of disguise.
That's right. And I was like, "Ha Lib, Lob! Oh, it's so good to see you again.
I'm so
And-
excited.
I'm
And
so happy.
and they took it. They took
Yep.
the bait,
And-
and they
and-
came towards us.
You know what would be fantastic? Lib, Lob, Lib especially. It'd be great if you two could do a backflip for me.
It wasn't even like that. It was more like you were just like, oh, ho, ho, I'm happy to see you. Ha ha ha.
Yep.
Do that flip. And they're like, okay. And then they tried it.
Do a backflip.
But
And
they're
then-
zombies.
For all time- time's
They're
sake.
undead zombies, so they both rolled to check to see if they could succeed in a backflip, and they both failed terribly.
Yep.
And cracked their heads open on the rock as they flipped backwards, and they died again.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And we all just kind of stopped and stood there, mouths agape, like, what an odd series of events.
Oh.
And then you guys rummaged through some of their stuff.
Rummaged through the trash pile, found like some daggers or something like that, I think, and then we just kind of slowly backed away. Bran picked up his muffin, we backed out the door and pulled it shut behind us.
Yep.
Yep.
And carried on down the hall.
Your lighting muffin.
Radiant roll.
Radiant roll.
Radiant
That's right.
roll. And then you guys continued through that cave.
Mhm.
Successfully searched through some rooms, got some good loot.
Oh, yeah.
Super successful.
Yep. Got
Yeah.
some poisons and such. Eventually found our way into the another temple-looking place.
Yeah, so you guys eventually, so just quickly, you did figure out that the kobold, that you found kobold, like lodgings,
Mhm.
killed some kobolds in there, then went through another exit and realized you guys had found the back entrance kind of thing.
Right.
And then you kind of snuck through, found basically a whole bunch of kobolds patrolling the front way, and went, oh, good, we didn't go that way.
Yep.
And then continued deeper in, and found the temple area, where there was a kobold necromancer sitting at the top of a sprack, sitting at the top of a big temple altar. Yeah, with like kind of 2 stories high, stairs leading up to it, and the drow merchant.
Altar later.
And the drow merchant was like
He's kicking ass.
yeah, he's fighting a bunch of these
Wow.
undead kobolds.
Mhm.
And so some zombie kobolds are fighting him, and then Sprock has got this big, or not big, but a shard similar to yours, except tainted black.
Right.
And he's using necromancy magic through the shard, reviving more zombies and just shooting dark energy out.
So I set him as my destination. I start walking up towards him. Meanwhile,
We forgot to mention the fact that we also found a necromancer's lab before we got here, and Pran has me. I have hatred, brutal
Like
hatred
bias, yeah.
towards necromancy.
Mild bias.
and I burnt a bunch of stuff.
Yep. Flipped over some table.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like threw a bunch of
Pretty
papers
much,
around.
we
When
pretty
we-
much rage quit that room.
When
Yep.
we approached,
That was in that dungeon, right? That
Yep,
was,
the
yeah,
same
in that
dungeon,
one.
yeah.
So when we approached this altar,
Mm.
I was all for effing this S up.
Yep.
Uh-huh. So he kicked ass. I shot a crossbow bolt.
Into his eyeball.
Yep, that ended up piercing his left eyeball or something
Yeah,
like that.
his left eye.
His left eye. Sprack's left eye. And he was like, ah, fuck this! And disappeared and smoke bombed his way out of there.
Right. Runs away.
Runs
he dropped
away.
the crystal, though.
But he dropped the crystal. Or
So-
left the crystal behind, yeah.
I, not being smart, so kind of another filler here is the crazy old man from the old house. Yeah, the treasure chest that he brought upstairs, whatever, with his shard in it. He gave it to me.
That was after this.
Was that after this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That was
after.
after this.
You didn't.
Oh, right, no, I had the leather bag or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. So he drops the dark shard, which
Yeah.
is obviously full of evil, so I, being stupid, go and try and pick it up with my bare hand and have visions of
Horrible evil.
horrible evil that I can't explain, and you two had to like come over and like smack it out of my hand or something, or like you shot it out of my hand or
Yep.
something.
But
to
you
get it out of my hand.
saved.
You saved, actually, from insanity.
Oh right, I roll saved from insanity and managed to drop the gem.
Yeah.
And you guys just kind of like asked me, like, "What the hell happened to you?" And I was just like, "I don't know."
I also want to point out that save was a natural 20.
Right.
It was, yes.
Right. So I was like, "I don't
Very
know, but don't touch that rock."
Yeah. all the visions that you saw were wiped from your mind. You knew
Yes.
you saw something.
I knew I saw something really bad,
Mm.
but I don't want to see it again. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, don't touch that thing with your bare hands." So I grabbed like a whole bunch of like leather armor and stuff together, made like this little pouch, put it in there, and slung it over my back, and we carried on.
Yep.
Yep. And then you at first you thought that Sprock had teleported,
Mhm.
but you realized there was footprints leading away,
Yeah.
and there was a collapsed tunnel in the back of the room, and you actually realized that was an illusion. Stepped out, and there was basically another exit to this cavern. So there was 3 different ways in.
And nothing
Yeah.
else happened
Well,
in that room.
Well, we lost track of Sprack. Went
Yep.
back to the altar, where
Nothing
Pran's
else
rage
happened.
got the better of him.
I was so mad.
And
I
then-
just wanted to defile something.
Yep.
So I peed on his altar.
Peed on the
which I feel
necromancy
Pran
lord.
regrets somewhat.
It was a temple to
We had a
what?
lot
which
to drink that day.
We did.
Yeah, we did. It was a temple of which god?
That was
Some evil god.
one of the bigger evil gods. Not Baal,
Like
but
Bane or
it was
Merfolk.
Bane. It was
Bane.
Bane.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Bane.
right. I knew it was another B one.
Peed on the altar,
Peed on Bane's altar.
and
Yeah.
then got that over with, and we carried on.
Which I'm sure no god will
Which
like.
someone-
No, I don't.
Someone described it as
Hey,
maple syrup
Well done.
going over a bunch
Oh.
of pancakes.
that's right.
We have to re.
The big
Yeah.
joke. The big
Okay.
joke.
So, anyways,
Sick.
so Sprock had turned invisible, ran out through the secret entrance. You guys had defeated him. You had gotten the Dark Shard,
Drizzly.
and you headed back. Yep. And you went back to Baldur's Gate, and you went to try and get into the house, and you realized you couldn't. And you had this amazing realization for Brandy that, oh my goodness, it must only open during the dawn. Because that's when you arrived before.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty smart
Yeah,
had a
it's
moment.
Lathander things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Made sense.
And
Just
Oh wait, forgot something.
what? Oh, the
Yeah, when we were walking in, because like they were dark. This is when we saw Lib and Lob or whatever in the tunnel, and they were like dark, like undead things, and I was like freshly like branded Lathander follower thing. So before we put the helmet of disguise on Hugo,
yeah.
I pulled down my pants and slowly backed towards them with my rose thing out to see if that would do anything to them.
It wasn't turning undead, but it's probably the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, for some reason, thought I needed to do that, so I did, and that happened. And
Yep.
then we made them do backflips and kill
You guys
themselves.
really had a lot to drink that day.
Yeah.
And so then on the way back,
Okay,
I should mention that on the way back you went back to the druid, picked up your retainers, and you
Who were quite high.
I don't know about high, but they were drunk. They were hungover.
Smoking trees.
They were
man. That's what
hungover.
druids do.
They were hungover from the night before. They had had a good time with the druid guy because you guys had been gone pretty much a full night dealing with that stuff. And then you basically went, okay, well, how are we going to get back all the way back to Baldur's Gate? Walking is going to be quite some ways. And the druid was like, I'll
can
call
hold
to
it
the
up.
wilderness to
I'm
see if
fine.
anyone else can. I'll call to the wilderness and see if
thanks.
anyone, any of the woodland creatures will help. And then he called with a Tarzan-esque call, and basically one
Retarded deer.
One majestic great elk
Yep,
It was
emerged
it was
from
a
the woods.
Stupid reindeer.
yep, just one.
Just one animal answered, and it was a big dumb reindeer.
He's not dumb.
And then Fran, you decided to ride him.
I approached
named
him.
him
I approached
first.
him
Yep,
with a carrot,
yep,
and we became best friends.
yep,
And I gave him the carrot, and I named him Prancing.
yep.
Prancing,
So Prancing and his
reindeer prancing.
yep. Say that 10 times fast. And so,
Prancing and
Prancing and his
reindeer
reindeer prancing.
prancing.
and so you.
And after a long day of being in a dank crypt, I decided to try my socks on his antlers.
Yeah, right. And he didn't care because he's a stupid reindeer.
He's a majestic beast.
So you guys managed. So with only one, you still pretty much most of you had to walk back. You guys got back to Baldur's Gate. Went to the house. Only opens in dawn. Waited until dawn. Went back to the old man. And then there was a whole bunch of jazz about needing something to go
Purify
somewhere.
the crystal.
Yeah, and
Because I brought him the dark crystal. I was like, what do we do with this? And he's like, you don't know.
But he knew that you had to go somewhere and you needed something, so you had to go to Abdal Adrian's house to find a key.
Right.
But he didn't know what the key would look like or what it
Right.
was or anything like that. But he gave you a wand to help you find it, a stick of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys went to his house, and then where that little image was with the little people walking around and where you had to put the ring in to reveal the secret area, you found that there was actually a small chest-like object, just in shape, basically, but it was more of a crystal, but shaped like a small chest. And that it was out of phase. You had to use the stick to move it out of an indent in the table that indent didn't look to be there, but when you moved the object, the indent was revealed, and the object wasn't even visible. You could only move it with the stick, and you only kind of saw it out of the corner of your eye. You couldn't look directly at it. But when you removed it from the indent in the table, you were able to hold it. It was this bluish-looking chest-like gem. And that was what you figured must be the key, because it's this weird mystical object. And you brought that back, and then he took you downstairs and revealed a hidden crawl path, and he put the gem in a pocket or a hole there, and basically said, go on through, and told you guys to head through. Now, I think this is where we actually started recording.
Nope.
No? Okay, so he sent you through, and he basically said something about,
752s.
Yep, good luck, 72s.
Right,
And then sent you guys through, and then you guys came out in a dark open hall, with light kind of peering in slightly from the sun.
Massive great hall.
Yeah,
30 feet tall.
yeah, and there was light peering in from the right, and you guys went over and looked out, and you realized that you saw this map of this area, which I don't have anymore. Anyways, this big map, which is basically that on the wall. I'm pointing. And you realized that you were in Mithrinor from the landscape, because you were in this large tower way up in the sky. So somehow you had crawled through this little crawl hole in Baldur's Gate and been teleported all the way over to Mithrinor in this large tower.
I had been given the chest at this point.
Yes. So when you first arrived with the Dark Shard to the crazy old man's house, he had thrown the chest at you, and almost knocked a couple of you guys out.
Almost
He's
knocked me
crazy.
over.
It's crazy strength. He just threw it from downstairs out through the hallway, out through the front door, and into the street. And then you put the shards in there. So you have the Dark Shard in the chest.
Yes.
And you have your regular shards with you as well, your non-tainted ones, with evil and such. And then you found yourself in Mithrinor, which is a crazy place, and you headed to down through the streets. You managed to get down out of the tower and headed through the streets, and there was different guards. You saw guards talking to people and basically saying, we're or state your business, and someone would say, 4, 5, 6. And then he would go, all right, very good, and or they would go 4, 5, 6 merchant, and then very good, and then he'd stop someone else, and they'd be like, 756, and then they'd be like, or 768, and they'd be a adventurer, and it'd be like, oh, very good, and they're basically just asking people for state their business, and then a number and an occupation, and then you realize that guy had said 7 something an adventurer, so you thought, well, okay, we'll say 782 because you remembered the guy saying 782s and 3-digit number. When 782s adventurers, and they were like, what? 782s? We've been waiting weeks for you guys to show up, and so they basically said, the captain of the guard is waiting. Go speak to him. And so you went and talked to the captain.
Wonder whatever happened to the original 782s.
You guys don't know.
We don't know.
No, you never found out. But the 782s, you never arrived. But you took their spots, and then you met with the captain. Does anyone remember what the captain's name was?
Commander Valen.
Commander Valen, right? And Captain Valen basically said, we need you, 782's wild magic expert adventurers, to go deal with some wild magic.
Yep, that's totally us.
We're so wild.
Deal with some wild magic areas that have been spiking up in the in Mithrinor, and that's pretty much where we finally left it. And then the next video is basically a full recording of us doing a 5-hour adventure or something.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's pretty much...
Did we audio record the one where all the shit started flying around?
Yeah, no, that's recorded.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think that's pretty much most of the relevant information. I mean, there might be a few things that we talk about that's like maybe that like insider joke almost because we may have missed. But I think that's a lot of information. That was a lot of the general recap of what's happened to the Neon Knights thus far.
Yep.
And you guys are now in Mithrinor.
Yay.
One thing I'd like to cap in on the end here is that Baldur's Gate and Mithrinor are quite different places. Baldur's Gate is basically a smuggler's town, basically on a river near the ocean. Mithrinor is deep inland, way kind of central continent, and it used to be a big, massive city, but was then kind of trampled over, set into ruins. And there, when it was a massive, majestic city, tons of mages were there doing experiments, and then basically when it got set to ruins, all those experiments were set free, so that it was full of demons and portals to other realms and stuff. And so Mithrinor was this crazy place full of all this crazy demon entrances to this world, and it was basically this high adventuring place where all this crazy loot was crazy.
So crazy.
I know.
It's
And
so crazy.
and then, but in the past few years, it has been taken back, and they've slowly been repairing Mithrinor, the ruins of Mithrinor, and turning it into an actual city again. But it's still very much a not a full city, but of people live there, ruins, there's merchants, yeah. And there, a lot of the merchandise and the business of Mithrinor is actually excavating ruins, finding artifacts, and then shipping them out, selling them for profit. That's where a lot of their actual economy comes from, because it's still there's still a war going on with the Zentrum Keep, and that's the general backstory of Mithrinor.
There's a war going on.
Yeah, I mentioned that
Keep.
earlier, but it hasn't really... he's mentioned the word Zental Keep and stuff before, like there's Zental spies. Zental Keep is who they're at war with in Mithrinor. Zental Keep is just north of Mithrinor.
Right.
It's that big marker.
Caught up.
Yeah, so that's the history of Mithrinor. Just because I think that'll come in play next time when, to understand where you guys are and what's going on. It's very much a ruined city full of, like, all of these magical artifacts and stuff.
Right.
And stuff that's been lost to the ages, and it's slowly being recovered, but it's a slow process.
I forgot when I got my heavy crossbow songcraft.
I don't know. We skipped over the items.
Yeah.
But
Most
Not
of
a
them,
big deal.
anyway.
yeah. And that's the end of the Neon Knights recap episode. That's everything that's happened to the Neon Knights up until the first D&D session where we started recording. And I should get that up soon. That'll just be basically us just playing. Not talking about playing, but just actual audio of us playing D&D. And as for this, I'd love to know if you guys found this entertaining, if you found it interesting, if you actually made it to the whole way through to hear me talk at the end here. Yeah. And so, yeah, just love to hear you guys' thoughts and feedback as always. And yeah, look forward to the first part of the first D&D session that we recorded. And that one there, I'm probably going to try and do some sort of visuals, so it's not just all audio, just because there's a lot of us talking about, like, oh, I want to go over here, and pointing to somewhere physically on the map or on the table, so I'm going to try and figure out a way to kind of help visualize that, even if I have to redraw the map again and take pictures, just so you guys can get an understanding of what they're talking about. Right, so that's pretty much it. And for now, this is Tolhi signing out. Later, guys.